Today, Smolensk hillsides look peaceful. But that was rarely the case throughout history. Towering on the Russian western border near Belarusia and the Ukraine, and thus guarding the route to Moscow, Smolensk was often the first line of defense for the Russian military. Throughout the centuries, Smolensk citizens stood up to all kinds of invaders, defending Russia that lay behind. For its indomitable spirit and strength, Smolensk had been called the Shield City, the Key City, and later earned the honorable title of the City of Martial Glory. This old fortress city has seen so many wars that its history is essentially written on its stone walls by the foreign armies that marched through its lands. It is epitomized in sieges and battles. It is remembered in victories and losses. And it is forever preserved in Smolensk's famously thick stone walls, which used to stretch for 4 miles encircling the city. When people who stay at my hostel Felix, the first hostel in Smolensk, when they ask me what they should see here, I always tell them they must see the fortress walls and towers. There are many great places in our city, like parks and squares. Cafes and restaurants. Old buildings and beautiful vistas. But I think you have to start with the fortress. And you should go up the east wall, because 1, that's where you get really good panoramic views, and 2, you really get a sense of what kind of city Smolensk is, what it had seen over centuries, get a sense of its history. Discovered in 863 by the chieftains of the legendary Viking ruler Rurik on their way to Constantinople, Smolensk was already a fortress so impressive that the Vikings came to respect its might. "It's a grand city full of people," they wrote, and decided not to capture it. The city had an important role. Built in the upper reaches of the Dnieper River, Smolensk was located on the historic route known as the passage from the Vikings to the Greeks. It was an ancient trading route that connected Scandinavia to Constantinople, the capital of the Byzantine Empire, one of the richest and most important cities of the time. The name Smolensk originates from the Russian word smol, which means black or tar. The traders sailed from north to south and made a stop in Smolensk, where they had to drag their boats across the land from one river to another, and then waterproof them with tar before setting sail again. Smolensk's good fortune didn't last long. For centuries to come, the city took part nearly in every war imaginable, with armies constantly marching back and forth through its lands. To fortify the city, Tsar Fyodor Ivanovich, the son of Ivan the Terrible, ordered to build Smolensk's famous stone wall. It took Fyodor Kohn, the well-known architect who also fortified Moscow, 6 years to fulfill the Tsar's will, from 1596 to 1602. Because bricklayers used eggs as a fixative and the chickens could only produce so many eggs a day, all other construction projects in Russia were put on hold, except for churches. A battle in itself, the construction persisted through bitter frosts, unbearable heat, and torrential rainfalls, claiming many lives. But with 38 towers linked by 4 miles of stone walls, Smolensk's fortress became one of the strongest in the world for its time. Over time, Smolensk had fought the Mongolian Khan Batu, the Swedish forces of King Charles XII, the Grand Duke of Lithuania, the Polish King Sigismund, and later Napoleon and Hitler. The 3 most recent and deadly invasions are commemorated in Smolensk obelisk of 3 wars. If there was one thing the stoic Smolenskians have learned from their violent history, it is to rebuild, regenerate, and enjoy life. In 1812, 2 of the largest armies ever assembled clashed in Smolensk. The battle described by Leo Tolstoy in War and Peace cost 30,000 lives. While Napoleon took the city and subsequently took Moscow, he ultimately lost the war, in part because of his weakened army. "100 years after Napoleon's defeat, proud Smolenskians erected an eagle monument in the Heroes' Garden. Here, the climbing soldier in ancient military gear depicts the French army, and the 2 eagles protecting their nest symbolize 2 Russian generals, Bagration and Barclay de Tolly. In 1941, Smolensk's 2-month-long resistance to the German army caused major delays in their advancements toward Moscow. 2 years later, the Red Army led an offensive 2-month-long Battle of Smolensk to clear Germans from Western Russia. Thousands of Smolenskians died in World War II, now commemorated in nearly every square of the city, with name plaques, obelisks, and the eternal fire. was one building that managed to defy Smolensk's violent history, it's the Cathedral Church of the Assumption. Overlooking the city from the Cathedral Hill, it has been its main church for about 800 years, lasting through several reconstructions and many invasions. One of the largest cathedrals in Russia, it remains a beloved urban landmark and a place of worship where the locals come for prayer and peace. For its relatively small size, Smolensk had produced a remarkable amount of people whose names made history. Yuri Gagarin, the world's first man to reach outer space, was born near Smolensk. So was World War II soldier Mikhail Yegorov, who together with his comrade placed the red banner over the fallen Reichstag in Berlin in 1945. Mikhail Glinka, the famous composer who wrote music for many world-famous Russian classical operas, was a Smolenskian too. Even more remarkably, Smolensk produced a renowned American. The revered science fiction author Isaac Asimov was born in a rural Smolensk village, Petrovichi. In ancient Russia, the Smolensk region was also known for its decorative arts. The Slavic people of the ancient Rus, which is how our country was called before it was named Russia, used special symbols to decorate their clothing. This trade was very well developed in the Smolensk area. Today, it's back to being popular again. I'm very happy to keep this art alive, and I'm now teaching my granddaughter to help me. Their traditional ornamental colors were red, blue, and black, so the ornaments on clothes and linens were done in these colors. They were either embroidered or printed on robes, dresses, and napkins. I use the printing method in my art. I use two different techniques. One, more simple and straightforward, is using stamps. The other technique, more precise, but also a little more involved, is by using boards. I design and make the stamps and the frames myself, and then I use them to decorate clothing and linens. The only thing I do on the computer is create the designs, but everything else is done by hand. At the end, you apply a hot iron and the design sets. It doesn't wash out or fade. The ornamental signs you see here aren't just lines and dots and geometric figures. They're old Slavic runes, the pre-Cyrillic writing symbols. They all have meanings. For example, these crossed lines with dots in between represent a field plowed and seeded with grain, and so this sign represents the fertility of earth. This is the overcoming herb symbol, a particular herb that guards your health and wards off evil spirits. And this is the symbol of harmony. This towel has a sign of perpetuating life within one's kin. If you look closely, you will realize that this is a woman giving birth, and you will even see the baby's head coming out. This is a grapevine, another symbol of fertility. And this is another female infertility sign, the symbol of Makosh. Makosh was an ancient Slavic female goddess, also called the Great Weaver, because she wove threads for fabrics, and not just ordinary fabrics, but also the threads and fabrics of human lives. These symbolic signs were passed through generations. We don't know who invented them. They just originated somehow. People came up with them and started putting them on clothing and linens. You could even write your wish with them if you were making a gift towel for someone's wedding. Some of these linens you can indeed read or interpret. For example, you can tell this towel is a wedding gift because it has birds on it representing a husband and wife. This is the overcoming herb symbol. This is the harmony and propagating your kin symbols. And here are the birds. And this is the sign of the fertility of earth, symbolizing a wish to have a large, healthy family. I had old towels embroidered with these ornaments, and they were getting old. So I recreated them with my own art. I believe that it's important we preserve this ancient form of art, so I'm happy my granddaughter is interested in it. Smolensk is a city of warm, earnest people who find joy in everyday happenings and relish simple pleasures. They love life, nature, and adventure. They make food and they drink to good health. They putter in their gardens and tend to their pets. They read poetry on the streets and dance in little squares. And of course, they climb their famous fortress walls. That often means climbing the towers despite missing steps, avoiding unexpected shafts, and walking along the 30 feet high walkways with non-existent railing. But in the city defined by former battles, physical dexterity, and the sharpness of the eye, life without adventures and risks is unimaginable. Even the children's attractions here are designed to build strength, courage, and character. Growing up in Smolensk, one learns to be deft, fearless, and self-sufficient early on, and then keep these qualities through life. That's how this city survived through nearly 2,000 years, and that's how it will remain for centuries to come.